committee for that interview process. We have Francis Spencer, Reynolds, Graham, McCarthy, myself, Galloway, Stansfield will be the STEM committee interviewing team. For teachers, teacher representatives that will be interviewed that we know, just remember that they can ask any of us any questions, but specifically those that will be called at a specific time to interview and represent our our teacher committee, not even committee, population, will be Ms. McMillan, Ms. Sinclair, Ms. Roseberry, Ms. Connor, Ms. Molick, Ms. Siri, Ms. Evans, Ms. Behrman, Ms. Green. If you would, listen for this group of parents, because part of our process today is that we're going to complete a survey in a Google Doc. The Google Doc is going to be information that we glean from you, and that's any parent that has come and spoke in your classroom to provide support with STEM. Any parent that has helped with on STEM days, any parent that has collaborated with you or supported in any way, that's going to be on the Google Doc that we asked you to complete today before leaving. But right now, I want you to listen for the names that we have to be on the interview panel and make note of any parents that you feel like we should add because they would help us present and tell our story. Miss Sonia Gerstle, Allison and Tim Martin, Sonia Tinsley Hook, excuse me, and then Miss Debbie Gerstle. Richard Wright, Avion Smith, Emily Graybill, Heather Hopper, Prue Heimer, Jennifer Petrich, Tony Pan, Kirsch, Miss Kirsch, Marjorie Cook. And is it Cook or it's Snook? Miss Hopper? Or no, Snook.
No, Ms. Hopper is
Heather Hopper.
Marjorie.
Marjorie Snook. Marjorie Snook. Heather Hopper. Now, some of these names we may have to move around because we're gonna have a group of parents speak towards being the parent and how it's impacted them and their children. And then we have another set of parents that actually can focus or function as partners as well. It just depends on how they support. The community partners that we may have through parents is Ms. Fondue, and that connection is with the High Museum. Ms. Steen, that connection is with Carlos Museum. Jesse Hayden and Catherine Cole, that's Briley Forest. Ben Roca, Kenneth, what's Kenneth's last name, please? Lindsley. Davis Katz, Tamara Caseberry. Does anyone know that parent?
It's the Katz's. That's the Katz's.
K-A-T.
K-A-T-Z.
It's spelled on here K-A-S-E.
Well, that's mom. That's mom. Tamara is the mom.
Okay. Okay. and Jen Choi. Okay, and that's it. That's all we have.
You called out Ben Boca, the mom's name is Katie Boca, Ben is a student.
Kate,
Yes.
is that your student?
She's a student.
Okay. All right. All right, so, notes to keep in mind, we'll interview the students tomorrow. We will also, after this meeting, sit briefly with those teachers that we just called, those representatives for the committee, and the teacher representatives. We'll come together to talk more about how we're going to prepare, given the sample questions that you have, and we have some possible answers. I'm gonna kind of rattle some things off. Not sure how you can compartmentalize it in your mind, but I'll do the best I can. So in speaking with Kelly and in going around and observing regarding your STEM, your bulletin boards, we want to make sure that as much information as possible is on the board so that you don't leave anyone with questions. So if you can put what your overarching theme or question is, because we're inquiry based and that's the direction that we're going, that you put what that question is that they were approaching in their work. So you're sharing their engineering and the work that they're doing, but you also want to pose that question on the board as well. I do see standards already up, so how do all of those things connect? The task, what was the task? What were they working on? What's the problem and how it connects to the standard? Minimizing the dittos that we put up and use in the classroom for that matter. Think in your mind, anything that can be done on a ditto, how can I transfer it to hands-on representation of it or ending product and getting the same information from them. If it is appropriate for collaborative work, how can I move from individual results to one team project coming about from it? Continue your work on your rigorous C's. You all identified those two that you wanted to focus on and you have them up in your room. Continue that work. Be sure that your schedules are posted and that they're followed. So if for some reason your schedule has been tweaked, make sure that's reflected outside of your door. And if you have tweaked your schedule for some reason, you need to please let us know, because what we have is what we're sending to the reviewer, and they're going to create their own schedule based on what we have. And if we don't have the updated schedule, they're going to get wrong information. And they may come into your classroom when you're scheduled for recess and you not be there. And we don't want them frustrated going around trying to find where's this teacher, because they're looking at the schedule and you're not there. But you did update it, but we didn't have the update. So make sure you get that to us. And if you could get it to us before this week is out, that would be great, because we have to move forward on shipping out, sending all of that information to them. It is imperative that we, I can't say it enough, that we follow our schedule. If we have to implement timers, that's an easy, quick fix to ensure that we are spending the time where it's supposed to be spent in each of those content areas. Be sure that when you are moving in your instruction with the students, that they're able to say why, explaining why the task is important. Whatever you have them working on, they know the purpose of it. The more connected purpose that you want them to know. So for an example, Stansfield and I went in to a class and asked the child why were they reviewing a letter sound or whatever it was. And they said because we studied E yesterday, so F is up today. You want to go deeper in their understanding of why they're really going over that information. it's not a sequential space, it's to help them understand their phonetic sounds and read better. So make that really rigorous connection with them. Why the problem is relevant, they know the problem, but how does it connect to either the standard or their learning or future learning or whatever the real world connection that you were conveying to them. Make sure they understand that. If it's something along the lines of no bigger real world problems such as maybe we're going over math and they have to get this process. Why is that process important and how does it really support or connect back to the standard? One question that we think that they may hear a lot when observers come around is the importance of the engineering design process. Like, why is it that it's important to ask, create, improve, share? Why is that important to you in this whole process? And they should be able to talk through each of those and why they're important to them. Their likes, dislikes, how it works. When we go in, make sure whatever it is that we're focusing on, there's so many different components. So I don't want to, it's not to stress you, it's just think it in your mind, drawing your attention to whatever it is. You say, okay, I didn't think about that, or this is a quick fix, I can do this. Your artifacts in your room, if you want to be real clear that I have student-focused, student-centered, student-driven instruction and learning going on in my room, there are some key things that can happen and be evident in your space. It could be a space where they have self-check. It could be that you have already charted your rotations and you know how they flip and move, and those students know that as well. It could be rubrics are posted. It could be checklists are evident in your anchor charts. There are several different things. I'm just giving you examples, but even what are we working on today? What is the overarching question for today? That it is, as soon as I come in, it kind of slaps you in the face. It's not somewhere posted on the side of maybe a bookcase that I have to hunt for. Maybe even identifying one real space for information. It could be all of my charts, because some of you already have your charts up, and that's powerful. All you have to do is shift, and the students know where to look. If I want to look to yesterday's lesson, I know it's right there. And so in that space right there, maybe the standard or task for today is also right there. Maybe your overarching essential question is also in the area. However you want to do that, you just want to make things obvious and very evident. Avoid using textbooks as your primary, not even primary, avoid using textbooks as your guide. Because we are inquiry-based and real-world relevant, that's the way our instruction is going. There's no way that relevant, local, real-world translation can come from your textbook. Does that make sense? Make sense?
What about social studies since it's directed towards is it just second grade? Okay, so it's just.
I hear what you're saying.
Because it's all our regions and rivers and.
It's depending on how you pull that out and how you bring the reference about to your classes.
Because we don't have to flex it, that's not sometimes make sure that that's.
Because that social studies is that piece anyway, that's kind of when you're planning and y'all pull in your math, reading, science piece, that social studies is always that one that's kind of lingering. Yeah. So I think social studies is the caveat to that, but even in that, I think the greater space is to ensure that what you're covering in social studies is covered and the book is used as a resource. Not that, because what can happen is that when you turn the page in the social studies book, it may cover a whole topic that's not even in the standards. And that's the pitfall. You have to make sure that what you're covering in that social studies book is actually a part of your standards, because you can spend a whole